I have no journalism training. However, I think that perhaps makes me a better journalist than a lot of our, bought out corporate shills that claim to be journalists. So, but yeah, I'd probably put activist before that. So comedian, activist, journalists. But comedian's where it all started. I mean, I wanted to write comedy since I was 12, started performing at 17. I've played the Edinburgh Fringe Festival multiple times, and yeah, a lot of stand-up comedy before it ended up becoming a TV show. So it wasn't just me as an activist thinking, I bet I could use comedy to trick people to listen, but instead kind of the reverse. Me as a comedian realizing, hey, I can use this comedy I do to talk about important matters that maybe people wouldn't listen to otherwise. Maybe they would not, if they're starting from a point of disagreement. And I wanted to discuss this with them, they might walk out in the first sentence because they go, that doesn't fit in my bubble where I exist. Whereas if they're laughing, they are probably going to stick around much longer. That doesn't mean you're going to hold them all, but I performed every night of the week in New York City until I started Redacted Tonight. And those crowds were, A, not there to see me, they were just at a comedy club, and B, they were of all political stripes. And I made them all laugh, and they all enjoyed themselves. And I was talking about the same issues. And I was able to make it funny and make it interesting. And, people weren't storming out. And so it is a bit of a magic trick to get people to at least listen. That doesn't mean they're going to change their views, but at least start a discussion about so much that's going wrong in our world right now. Corporate media is a catastrophe. It's hurtling us towards inevitable extinction in multiple ways, not just climate change, but you've got the nuclear clock a minute to midnight, and you've got our environment collapsing even without climate change. Simply the amount of plastic, we're breathing plastic in the air now. So we're literally laminating ourselves, and it's never mentioned on corporate media. And then, as you mentioned, independent media is struggling, and I'd say that's largely by design. I mean, because the censorship then results in less able to get money, whether it be through ad dollars or donors or whatever, because you're getting out to fewer people. So by suppressing independent and citizen journalists, they are making sure that we can't get funding or can't get our message out, and it all works together. And I think you saw that they hadn't really figured out how to do that with platforms like Facebook and Twitter and stuff a few years ago, and they realized they were losing control. They were losing control of the message. That's when Occupy popped off, and Arab Spring, and Black Lives Matter started, and all these things, and they realized, the ruling elite realized they were losing control, and now we're seeing much heavier suppression. I have it myself, but I know of other people that have been completely wiped off of Facebook and things like that. So that adds up to make independent journalism very difficult. Climate change is the biggest issue of our time because of more harm could come maybe immediately from, let's say, a nuclear strike or something. But in terms of long-term extinction, there is nothing more pressing. And, 10 years to the point of no return, the time to act, was 30 years ago, but now it's now. And and we should act like our house is on fire every day. I mean, like if you're working in an office and the other room is on fire, you don't sit there and go, wow, that room's on fire, I'm going to keep working at my boring job. You either get to work putting it out, or you steal shit and run to Tijuana, which I think we should pick one of those two. Let's start stealing stuff and run to Tijuana. But Extinction Rebellion, I think, is very exciting. I'm very excited about, the way it's been working, the way it's been getting people talking, using civil disobedience in unique and interesting ways, and saying they're one of the only groups that is saying it shouldn't be business as usual. There are other climate awareness groups and activist groups that are trying to work much more with our lawmakers and saying, oh, let's, if we can get them to pass this or pass that. Whereas Extinction Rebellion is more so saying, you shouldn't go to work today. Like this bank shouldn't operate today. We're going to glue ourselves to their doors and get them to pay attention. And I think that's important. This should not be business as usual. We should not act like this is one more issue to deal with in piecemeal over the course of the next 30 years. It just can't work like that. And so, as with Occupy, I don't know that I don't know how long Extinction Rebellion, the brand, will last. I mean, I'd like for it to keep growing and everything. But as you know, the ruling elite will, as they did with Occupy, will find ways to crush things and undermine them. And so maybe it'll be a new brand after that. But I think it is an important stepping stone. And hopefully whatever comes after it will continue to build on that form of activism, saying, listen, things need to shut down until we deal with this. Well, I wanted, I used to tour here a lot, and I haven't been able to do it recently because of the TV show Redacted Tonight that I've been doing. But I wanted to get back here while there was still human civilization. So I figured next couple of years had to make it happen. No, basically, it seems like the UK looked over at America and was like, wow, you guys have a, belligerent, blowhard, racist, misogynist doofus with doll hair. Why don't we get that? And so now you've made the shift over to Boris Johnson, also the most popular nickname for a Russian penis. I mean, what this comes down to, and this is happening in many nations, it's not just the UK, it's not just America. It is when people are being crushed by inequality in a collapsing environment, they are told where to focus that anger. And it should be towards the system, it should be towards capitalism, it should be towards our ruling elite that are not dealing with climate change. And instead, the ruling elite say, either look at Russia or look at immigrants, and that's what you need to be angry at. And almost every nation, we're seeing that. Some nations are turning to more socialism and caring for their fellow human being, like with AMLO in Mexico. And other nations are turning towards some ugly things. And let's hope that people and citizen journalists and independent journalists can continue to inform people so that we ignore the desire of the ruling elite to make us hate other people. We have more in common with the working man in another country, with the average American. Someone an average worker in the UK has more in common with them than in common with the ruling elite, the millionaires and the billionaires. And instead, we're told to hate other nations. And it's a story as old as humanity. But I will keep doing what I can to inform people that that's not where their anger should be placed. Oh, God. I don't know. I mean, I always tell people that we each have our skill and our talent, and it's to use that and our passion, and it's to use that in a way that can help create this change. So it doesn't, not everybody's going to be a comedian like I am. Not everybody's going to be a journalist like you are. But people should find their passion and then use that in a way that best suits. Whether it's planting trees, that could be their passion. Whether it's saving wildlife, or it's there are people that are good at talking with lawmakers and trying to convince them of things to do, and maybe that's their thing. But you should find your talent and use that.